Hey folks, Kilt-Man here. Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? I hope you're all doing very, very well. I also hope you've got your waders on, you've got a gas mask, and maybe a bazooka or two. Because we're heading down into the sludge of the sewers to hunt down a 36-foot long alligator with an insatiable appetite for human flesh. Yes, folks, we're going back to the 1980s classic B-movie creature feature, Alligator, from director Lewis Teague and written by the great John Sayles. It's a wonderful movie, right from the word go. You know it, you've loved it. I saw this get previewed on Barry Norman's film 80, and why not? And he showed quite an extensive kill from the movie, which I was only a kid and I was like, wow, gotta see this. And it was a certificate AA when it came out in the UK. And as many of you know, I was living in the local flea pit, the 2-screen cinema, the Phoenix. Called the Phoenix because it rose from its own ashes. It was a cinema called the Gaumont, which was bombed during World War II. The Nazis did it. And they rebuilt the cinema just with 2 screens, but it was my life. Throughout the 70s and into the 80s, it was phenomenal. I used to go straight from school to that cinema. I used to get in for nothing because I was in school with the daughter of the people who owned the place. It was independent cinema. And my Bessie mate's mum was the cashier anyway, so I just walked in and I saw films that were AA's, and I was underage, and I saw films which were certificate X, and I was massively underage for those. But no one stopped me. It didn't harm me at all. It did not instill any kind of bizarre drinking habits or weird nocturnal behaviour. No, not a bit of it. Cheers, y'all. It's Gatorade, is what it is. Now, I just want to apologise for the brightness taking place over there. Again, on the Wirral Peninsula, we've had our own unique weather system. It absolutely persisted down throughout the night and all morning. And then it looked gloomy, cloudy and overcast. And then the sun came out. And it's doing that over there. Now hopefully it'll move along during the course of what could be a bit of a behemoth of a video. Because I love Alligator. And it's just come out. It's come out on UK 4K and Blu-ray with its lackluster sequel, Alligator 2, The Mutations. Which I may cover at some point. I don't know. Is it really worth covering? For a bit of fun, maybe. But it's a lavish 4K. The transfer, I'll just say right now, the transfer is outstanding. It's from 101, and my God, they've pulled out all the stops on it. The transfer is detailed, crisp, clear. The colours are vibrant. Skin texture is really, wow, in your face skin texture. It's like looking in a mirror. And the black levels are spectacular. No crush, real detail and depth to the black levels. A bit of hotness to the colours in the later daytime scenes, but other than that, it's getting 2 thumbs up from me. 2 big thumbs up. So, the film itself, Alligator. A genuine classic. It's another eco-horror movie in the wake of Jaws. But the 70s had an era of nature fighting back. You had The Swarm, you had Grizzly, you had, well, obviously Jaws, you had Piranha, which was written by John Sayles. And Piranha, for Joe Dante, was a kind of, it was meant to be a spoof satire on Jaws. And it does come across that way, but it's got its own great moments and its own biting satirical slant. And John Sayles was excellent at this. He also wrote, if I remember rightly, Battle Beyond the Stars. And he would go on to do, what else did he do? Oh, I put it over there to remind me. The poster for The Howling. Again, for Joe Dante. And again, it's a satire. And this was his magnificence. Alligator was written initially by a guy called Frank Perilli. And from an idea by Lewis Teague, the director himself. Because Lewis Teague had heard about, and John Sayles had heard about those urban legends of people flushing baby alligators down the toilet in New York City. This is from the 1930s, by the way. and then 40s and 50s. It just gestated, and the legends grew bigger and bigger. And in the telling, so did the alligators as well. But it's an urban legend. But John Sayles said, I can work with this. And Lewis Teague said, I want to do this film Alligator. Now, this guy's written the script. It's Frank Perilli, and it's garbage. Basically, I can't stand it. Can you rewrite the entire thing? All you got to do is keep the same. I want a great big alligator in the sewers. That's all you got to do. The rest of it is up to you. Now, admittedly, John Sayles had to change a couple of things from it. There was a couple of ideas which couldn't really make it into the final film version. Namely, a big finale where the alligator was actually on fire. It was ablaze, and we're still scuttling round through the city streets, devouring people while it's on fire. The budget couldn't run to that, so I'd take that bit out. Right, we'll just blow the fucker up at the end. Yeah, that's what we'll do. Just leave it at that. And but Sayles comes through with it. Sayles sailed through in the end with a fantastically witty, frightening, sort of almost believable because of the characters who are in it, who are really portrayed exceptionally well. Scenario where if you had a giant alligator prowling around the sewers, which then gets bored of the sewers and breaks out into topside world, what would you do with it? It's perfect. It is creature feature, B-movie, exploitation, perfection. Anyway, so Lewis Teague, right, I want this idea done. We've got rid of the other guy, so now you can do it. You've got free reign, do whatever you want. But they did a couple of modifications, as I said, just for budgetary concerns. And we got Alligator. So the idea is, the opening scene, you've got a family, a young daughter, Marissa, they're down in Florida, in the Everglades, and they're watching an alligator park, and they're all sitting there, and the alligator wrangler comes a cropper and gets his leg right scissored up, and the people in the audience are going I think they're going a bit too far with the fake blood there, aren't they? And it's fucking shredding him. And the other wranglers get in there, start beating this bloody thing and dragging him back. Now, in all honesty, the wound looks a little bit sort of, for all the blood in the water and the rolling around that's taking place, it's not quite as graphic when he comes out. His leg's still there. But don't you worry, folks. There's body parts and grisly bits aplenty throughout the rest of the movie. But little Marissa, I want one of these. So they buy a little alligator and they go back home. But while she's at school, the dad, who's a right swine, doesn't want it, hates animals, hates pets. We're gonna just get her a hamster. I can't stand this fucking thing. So he plucks it out of its little vivarium. Right, got a burial at sea. Down the toilet, flush. Trickles down through all the pipes into the sewers. Plops down there. Little baby alligator called Ramon, by the way, which that gets forgotten about afterwards, but it's called Ramon. And 12 years pass by. But in the middle of the midst of that 12 years, you've got the Slade Corporation, run by the local tycoon Slade, played by the great Dean Jagger. More on this later. And he's financing horrendous animal experimentation, namely on dogs. And to the pharmaceutical company that he employs, they're working on these dogs and other animals to get a growth hormone for livestock in the farming industry. Make your cattle 10 times bigger. But it doesn't really work, and it produces a side effect as well that it increases your appetite to an insatiable level. So all the bodies of these poor dogs get dumped, unceremoniously into the sewer system. And of course, little Ramon has been chowing down on these. So he's ingesting highly concentrated doses of this hormone growth regenerator, and as a result is getting really, really, really super hungry. So at the filtration unit, you've got body parts turning up, like an arm, leg, bits and bobs are arriving on a very regular basis. So the cops get involved in this, and our cop in question is dog lover David, what's his name? David Madison. God, I've always watched it as well, you know. And I've seen the film a gazillion times and I still forget bits about it. David Madison, played by the late, great Robert Forster. What a guy. And he always said that one of his favourite roles playing was this guy, this cop. He's not quite burnt out. He's not washed up. He looks a bit dishevelled, but he's got a reputation. He might be good at his job and quite diligent and dogged, but he has a habit of losing his partners. How often have we heard this? But back then it was quite unique. So it gives him a bit of a sort of a tragic, haunted backstory. But don't worry, Sayles' script and Teague's direction doesn't wallow in any of that kind of stuff at all. It's there, and it's a plot device without a doubt. But at a previous encounter with miscreants, he and his partner come a cropper, and he was held down. Our hero was held down, and with a fake gun. It's a roll of dollar coins in his back, and they take his real gun from him, and they kill his partner. And he has nightmares about this, and of course, you know, it's a stigma. People don't want to work with him. Anyway, but he's a lovable, likable guy as far as the audience is concerned, because Robert Forster is just like that. He's wonderful. And of course, there's a massive running in joke that his hair is receding. He had male pattern baldness in real life, Robert Forster. So he had that little fringy bit here, but then there'd be like a fallow patch, you know, of nothing behind it. And although it's a bit heavy-handed, and he accepted it, because I'm not gonna wear a toupee, I'm not gonna wear a wig, I don't care, and I'm not shaving my head. The way my hair is, that's the way it's gonna be. Simple as. Brilliant. So, but everyone he meets will have some kind of, you know, I know what you're going through, because I had bald patch at the back, I had that, and then suddenly it started going from the front. You know, they can do things about that these days. You can see a hairstylist and they can like just swish it around, a big sidewinder, and he just looks at him like, you know, I'm all right, I don't need it. But everyone he meets will have some kind of little jibe about it. But it's nice that they're doing that. Another actor that had a lot was Stacey Keach, who when he worked with John Carpenter on the film Body Parts, there was a whole story in an anthology movie for John Carpenter about him getting this new hair transplant thing, which, because he really was going bald and he was concerned about it as an actor. But that became a running gag as well in his movies. But in Body Parts, they're actually alien parasites which are burrowing into his skull. And his hair grows lovely and resplendent, but there's a downside to it, obviously. But Robert Forster takes the joke happily on the chin. So we first meet him, he's buying a new dog, a puppy, because his last one got taken. I went into the store for 2 minutes. I tidied him up outside, came back out, he was gone. And the pet shop guy's like, oh, I know, it happens a lot in this area. So he buys a new puppy, and he's going, any advice? Well, he's only young, so don't keep your shoes on the floor for the first couple of months, because he's teething and all that. Okay, that's fine, yeah. Off he goes. And then we discover that the seedy, greasy pet shop owner is actually working with the Slade Corporation. He's like the dog pound guy. So he's driving around in his van, a dog on the street. Come here, boy, come here, boy. Whoa, get in the back of that. And then drives him off to this corporation where he meets this absolute bastard called Arthur, played by James Ingersoll. And he's the experimenter. And they take the larynxes out of the dogs so they can't howl and yell. Now, you know me. I have a husky, and I'm a bit of dog lover all my life. And this sort of thing makes my blood boil. And revisiting the film just with this 4K, I was kind of thinking, oh, we've got to go through this, haven't we? But it really doesn't dwell on it at all, and it's not upsetting. And I think Sayles and Teague handled it really well with a bit of dignity and respect. It could have been really horrible and awful and really overblown. They didn't do that at all. So it's okay to watch, is what I'm saying, if you've got no qualms about this sort of thing in the first place. But so this guy delivers the animals, but it's like, what's going on? Like, all these bin bags are there. Yeah, we don't need those anymore. Get rid of them. And like, you can see that this pet shop guy has got some sort of, I don't know if it's a pang of conscience, but it's certainly, he's not enjoying what he's doing. I've got to dump these dogs again. I mean, he's thinking, oh God, there's a crisis of conviction and conscience there. So he goes down to the storm drains, the shopping cart full of these horrible bin bags, and he goes deep inside the sewers and starts pitching them into the sewers. And then one dog, forget what I just said. One dog carcass. For a second it looks like a husky, I'm not too sure what it is, but hits the deck, and it doesn't go into the actual sewer itself, it's on the ledge. So he has to climb down and nudge it in, and as he's shoving these bodies down, we see the eye opening of Ramon, the alligator, and it goes because they are silent, like great white sharks. They are super silent on their approach, and they definitely do stalk and gnash. And it comes up behind him as he's in this tunnel, looking the other way, and he turns around, and we get chaos, blood, and body parts are then found again. So of course our boy, Dave Madison, has to go and investigate this. They're finding all these bits floating up in the filtration units and all that. And as it happens, at this point in time, I'm going to mention a little sideline story. It was in the pub. This is going back a good few years now. And where we were sitting and talking, there was another bunch of blokes on the other table. And I overheard what they were talking about. And they were talking about working in the sewer system in Liverpool. And at the time I was working in Liverpool. And we were in a pub in Liverpool as well. I was like, in our conversation, I was kind of like, you know what? This reminds me, Chud, Alligator, The Relic, anything, them that's got sewers in it, and like, they're mysterious, eerie, horrible places. There could be things living down there, degenerate people, cannibals, all this sort of thing. And I was like listening in, and then I had to go and I said, like, oh look, I know I'm eavesdropping here, like, but I'm just fascinated by you guys' work down there. What? Clammed up. What? That was it? And I looked at you like that. I thought, hang on, you're in the middle of a pub, and you're talking quite loud, and other people are going to hear you. Only when you get challenged do you shut up, like. But one of them did say, like, I said, well, come on, tell us something about it. You must have seen something unusual down there. And he was just like, it's an interesting job. I love it, and I feel at home down there. Okay, mate. Okay. But tell us, no, they wouldn't tell us a damn bloody thing. Damn it. So there's something, they've definitely seen something down there. But yes, back to the story of the film. He starts to investigate this, and because people don't want to work with him because he lost a partner, it wasn't his fault, for Christ's sake. He does blame himself because his inaction allowed them to get his gun and kill his partner. But he's asking around, look, there's people going missing, there's body parts turned up, there's something going on down there. I'm going to go and investigate this. And so he asks around in the department, the precinct, and like, they're all too busy, But one guy, young Officer Jim Kelly, played by Perry Lang, says, yeah, I'll do it. And he's a cocksure little rookie, with a lovely Californian blonde bob hairdo. Which reminds me, the film, the entire film is lensed in and around the sewers and the streets of LA. But it's meant to be set in Chicago. And yet, very awkwardly, all the car license plates have Missouri plates. It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, it is what it is. It's meant to be Chicago, but it's very clearly LA because they use the same storm drains and those big sort of concrete reservoir canals that you see in them and in Greece. It's that area which we love. It's brilliant. So Jim Kelly goes, yeah, I'll come with you. But before they can leave there and then go on this investigation down in the sewers, this guy comes in. I'm the sewer killer, because the papers are running stories like, is it Jack the Ripper? Because you're finding little body parts and stuff like that. And he comes in and I, well, okay, well, why you give yourself up then? Well, because I want to kill more of you. What? I've got a bomb attached to me, and he's got a radio attached to him with a digital countdown going on, and he managed to. This is where Robert Forster's character establishes the fact that he knows a thing or two about bombs. So they're investigating this, and the countdown's going, and trying to find wires, and then they manage to turn off the countdown. It's just a radio. As the radio comes on, this guy gets shunted off. But so you've established Kelly and Robert Forster's character as they can actually work together, but don't get your hopes up too high on that one. Off they go down to the sewer. Torches, a complete circle of darkness, and the enigmatic, bizarre, ethereal torch beams going through the murk and the shadows. Really eerie, spectacularly great, and in genuine locations too. So they're going down all these tunnels and the catacombs. They've got old maps, which, where are we now? Well, according to this, we're in Cleveland. So again, the whole geography of the place is completely skew. But they're getting lost, and they find there's a brick wall which has been bashed through, and then looking down into that's murky. Drops a brick down, and then Robert Forster walks off, and then he's talking to someone who's not there. Where the hell's Kelly gone? He hears a splash. Kelly! Kelly! And you get the Kelly echoing. And he begins a search. If you're savvy to these movies anyway, you know this is not a kill. This is a piss take. The guy's like, it's a false scare coming up. So you're going to get Robert Forster running around and jumping into the sludge and going through the other little tunnels, shouting Kelly everywhere, and then peering down. It might even be the same tunnel that the guy from the pet shop was erroneously prowling through at the time of his death, and point of view shot comes up behind him, and it's Kelly. Gotcha! And he fucking bangs it on the roof of this fucking tunnel. You would kill the guy. You would turn around and kill him. However, he doesn't need to turn around and kill him, because something else will kill him. As they continue their investigation, finding little bits and odds and sods and what have you, in the middle of a conversation they turn into a darker recess, and suddenly, out of the middle of nowhere, whoa, great big alligator jaws go whoa, snap down. Kelly gets his gun out, bang, 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 bang. The two of them turn tail and leg it. So they're legging it down. Great cinematography again, and the film does look wonderful. They're legging it down this tunnel, and of course they find out steps. Right, it's a manhole. Robert Forster gets to the top there, can't fucking open it. By the way, you can't open these things. You can't do it. They weigh a ton, these things. You have to use great big irons and a couple of it to hook them out. And it's a very practiced deed to do. So you're underneath it, you are never going to shift that. It is not going to come away. But in movies, they do it all the time. But he can't. He's like, oh shit. And Kelly's below him, and of course the gator's coming down behind him. Big, All you can see is shadows and the jaws doing that. And he's like, get me up. And it's like, I'm trying. And it gets Kelly, and he gets slammed around and dragged into the sludge. Just an upturned face, and he gets dragged away. Poor Robert Forster has to yell, Kelly, again about 15 times. Kelly. Another partner is gone. But he loses his mind. He wakes up in hospital. And I think, was it all a dream? What happened? And the nurse goes, oh yeah, you came up in the middle of the street from a manhole cover, shouting about alligators and stuff and they've obviously sedated him since. And but there's no trace of his partner. Kelly's just disappeared. Now, we want to talk about Chief Clark, played by is it Frank Gazzo? Let's have a look. Michael V. Gazzo, or Gazzo, who got an Oscar nomination for his portrayal in Godfather Part 2, and he is wonderful. He has this croaky, Italiano sort of voice, really deep, and he's got this big tash, he's got a face like a pumpkin, and he's got a receding hairline as well. I was like, David, it doesn't do good to be shouting about alligators when you just lost another partner, But the weird thing about Chief Clark is that he actually is Dave's mate. Right from the word go, when we've seen these two together in the precinct, they're like almost like father and son, and the Chief's always driving Dave around. Dave this, Dave that, listen Dave, we don't want the press involved in this one, do we, right now, and there's a great repartee between them. You know that Dave Madison's quite a bit of a maverick. You can see that, he wears disheveled clothes and he doesn't really give a toss about his appearance. Quite clearly about the receding hairline, doesn't give a toss. And he's already a haunted man who's a bit of a pariah. But he's been babbling on about this alligator. Listen, we've got a press conference coming up, you don't be saying nothing about alligators, and all this kind of stuff. And there's a horrible scene in the squad locker room, and which is weird because you've got all the lockers and you've actually got a bench with a heavy barbell on it. Where in a locker room have you got room for that? You know what I mean? But one guy's reading from the paper, Detective David Madison, who lost his previous partner, is suffering from hallucinations and stuff like this. And of course, he walks in and overhears this, and they just all stop as he goes to his locker, opens it, and there's an alligator hanging on a little toy alligator hanging on the inside. It's like, nice, guys, nice, yeah. And they watch as he walks out, and then carry on reading this character assassination in the paper, which is written by Bart Braverman. Bart Braverman was in Vegas with Robert Urich, and he's played by Bart Braverman is the actor. He plays a journalist called Kemp, who's got it in for David Madison, and so he writes all these articles. But he hears a story about an alligator down there. You think there's an alligator, a giant alligator down there? Really? In the meantime, while the journo's thinking, gonna have to look into this. He's got a mad copper who's a pariah. He's a Jonah when it comes to partners. They all end up dead, and they go and see a herpetologist, a reptile snake woman, and it turns out that she's played by Robin Riker, and she is the young girl that her alligator got flushed down the toilet. Although she didn't know it, she tells Chief Clark and David Madison, I know about alligators. My dad, ours died, and they got me a hamster instead, or whatever that story is. What she doesn't know is that Ramon, her alligator, is the one that went down the toilet, and is now on the rampage. But she listens to David's story, and they're going well, is it possible? Could there be an alligator down there as big as that? No, they can't live like that. They would not grow to that size. They can't do. Even in captivity, where they're well looked after, they don't grow that big. And even in their native, environment, they don't grow that big. It's impossible. No, there's nothing down there that big. Certainly not an alligator. We're not believing those old legends, are we now? So of course, no one's believing him. But Kemp, the journo, goes down there, foolhardy, and with his torch and that big, old school, with the big flash pop light, flash pop, popping flashlights, and it goes poof like that. And in a scene very similar to Jaws 2, he will encounter the beast. He'll find, again, horrible elements down there, and he'll prop them up and go poof, and then the alligator's eye goes, winks open, and it begins that slow move, through the teared slime, and it gets him. But he manages to keep taking pictures, So he goes missing, but the camera washes up at the filtration centre. So they give it to the coppers, and the copper, again like Jaws 2, they develop the images, but the images, unlike in Jaws 2 where Brody's going, look, there's the mouth, there's the eye, that's a shark. I know, because I've seen one up close, and they're going, sorry, I just don't see it. What, is it seaweed? Everyone can see it's a fucking alligator, and they can tell the size of it as well. So they go back to this woman, and she goes, shit, yeah, I was wrong. It's a fucking alligator. And it's a fucking big one as well. So at least Madison is sort of reprieved. So he's like, look, there's a big alligator down there. We've got to, it's been killing people. We're going to have to do something about this. So then you get the big SWAT team sort of homage to them. I mean, there's many sewer movies. It's Alive for Larry Cohen, the mutant baby on the rampage in the sewers and all that. You've got The Relic, the sewers. You've got, what else have you got? Chud, cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers set in the sewers. What else? The Third Man, the classic Third Man, often rated as being the greatest British movie ever made. Orson Welles as Harry Lime. And as a little homage to that, in Lewis Teague's movie, you've got graffitied on the wall in the sewer, Harry Lime lives. So it's like, it's referencing The Third Man as well. So it knows all these sort of, these prior scenarios in the deep, dank, dark of the sewers. And it really plays them up. So you get this entire great sequence of the SWAT teams converging from certain manhole covers, and they're going down into the sewers, and they've got pots and pans, and they should have steel drums. Should be like a big reggae band down there, and they're kind of like, we're going to drive this bastard out. So we're going to converge from all these different areas into these 3 tunnels. We're going to drive whatever's down there into this last remaining tunnel and drive it out into that great big storm exit drains that you see in Terminator 2 and Them. But it's a really, hang on a minute, I took the lid off of that. I always do this, take the lid off and then start talking and then put the lid back on without taking a swig. And so it all, but again, you've got torchlight, there's shotguns, there's heavy firepower, there's bazookas down there as well. What I don't like about it is the SWAT team are wearing that horrible sort of brown fatigues, not the blue fatigues that you kind of get used to, or the urban camouflage. These horrible, almost like they are like Ghostbusters, the sort of grey Ghostbuster, flight suit, jumpsuit thing, boiler suit, and whatever suit you want. But they're there with the weapons, and they're banging away. Unit 7, in position, Unit 12 in position, and Robert Forster's coordinating it as well. Now I love this because I've said about this a lot of times in the past, where your main character begins to take on roles which are beyond their remit. Them is a real major example, because Them is not an alligator, it's giant ants that end up in the storm drains, and you have a state trooper played by James Whitmore, who he then joins with the FBI to coordinate, literally America-wide searches for the giant queen ant. I've covered them a lot on the channel. I think I've done a movie commentary for it as well, a watch-along party. Sure I have. And so they do all this sort of stuff, and they've stepped out of their actual job description. Look, you're now working with the FBI and the army, as in Them. And you're firing bazookas. That's not your fucking job. You're a state trooper. You alert them, and then the authorities take over because you've seen the giant ants. You're the main star of the movie. We carry on. So Robert Forster is now completely coordinating this. He's just a homicide detective, but he's got this on the great big storm drain entrance, and there's a great big map there, and there's TV crews and loads of firepower. You've got a firing squad waiting. They're going to drive it out that entrance. They're all there waiting. But he's, patched me in to all these different teams. And he's coordinating them. And he's got this map there. But you've got this girl, this herpetologist, the snake lady, lizard lady, Robin Riker, who clearly fancies our hero with his receding hairline, which gives hope to a lot of guys because she looks pretty spectacular. She wears some, this is 1980, but the jeans kind of flare out, but they're really tight around the old posterior and the derriere. And she's quite tasty. And but she got the hots for him. But he's kind of like, you were dismissive of me last time, so I don't really care. But he's just focused on the job. Anyway, we can see as they're doing all this, and it's despite the noise and the clamour, it's quite an eerie sequence. I actually find it quite unsettling because it's the sort of rhythmic pounding of this noise, this timpani of noise, and there's something big lurking there as well, and they think they're going to drive it out, but it doesn't. It manages to, despite being 36 foot long, it manages to get round them and go down a different tunnel and end up behind them. So you've got this tense sequence of the firing squads there, and you can hear chung, 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 clamour, 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 and then it suddenly stops, and they're like, I was waiting for that bit of music there. Mistimed that one. And then suddenly you hear, hold your fire, because they're going to come around the corner. So all the SWAT teams and the police are all they're all laughing their heads off out of this shite. As if, there was never going to be a giant alligator down there. What crap is this? So, in the eyes of the press, our boy and Chief Clark aren't looking too good. Oh shit. So, they're in trouble again. Press conference tomorrow, says Gatso, Chief Clark. Well, Dave, I don't know how we're going to dig our way out of this one, But they've also done some investigations into this Slade Corporation, Slade Industries, about where do you dispose of the specimens for experimentation that have died? Where do they go? Oh, it's all legally and regulated. They go off to the crematorium and then they're burnt. It's all above board. Yeah, right. And where'd you get the animals from in the first place? Oh, we breed them ourselves. Yeah, it's this same twat Arthur, James Ingersoll, who is a right bastard. You want to see him? You definitely want to see him come a cropper, and you will. But so already, David's been leaning on this place and pushing too many buttons. Because he starts working with Marissa, the snake lady. He starts working with her, and the two of them obviously form an attachment. Yeah, I'm leaping ahead of it here, and they have gone back and checked on this place. So now they couldn't find the alligator, and they're making allegations about the Slade Corporation. Suddenly, listen, Dave, it's all gone wrong. You gotta give me your badge. And he's like, what do you mean? Give me you've been suspended. You step on too many toes, the wrong toes, and all this. Because Slade is who runs this corporation, this tycoon. He's got the mayor in his arse pocket. It's always one of these, isn't it? The bureaucracy and the red tape and the corruption. The mayor who's going for re-election, he wants David Madison gone. Get him off the force now. Drive him out there. And he's a little weak, insipid little twat. But he has his way. Listen, Dave, you gotta hand your badge in. But Dave doesn't just hand his badge in. He goes to the evidence room. And remember the guy who had the fake bomb? There's a timer on that. I can use that timer. And Exhibit A in some other case is a few sticks of dynamite. I'll take them. I'll take that. Remember I said, he clearly knows something about bombs because he looked at that fake bomb and it's fake, don't worry about it. He knew what he's looking for. So he knows how to rig up a bomb as well. I did explosives and demolitions. I don't fucking know how to rig up a bomb. Or do I? I'm sure I could do it, but they make it look so easy, you know what I mean? Anyway, So he's got these now. So he's broken the law. He's taken exhibits, evidence. But we know also it's been foreshadowing that when he did the first check down there, him and Jim Kelly, that there's pockets of methane gas, which there is in sewers, the carbon dioxide, there's all sorts, and you get sewer smells and all that. But a lot of it's not dangerous at all. It is just the smell of sewers. But you can get pockets of methane. Methane is flammable, explosive. Right, so there, okay, what are we going for here? So he's got this stuff. But in the meantime, our big snappy happy chappy has evaded the SWAT teams and then thought, fuck this, I'm hungry and you've driven out all my food, you've blocked the whole thing off, I'm coming up top. So he does. You've got kids on the street playing baseball and getting in the way of Chief Clark and Dave in their car. And they won't move. And there's this fucking horrible little scroach going and hitting the bonnet of the car and going, oh, fuck off. Like, he's only about 9, maybe 10 years old. And like, Chief Clark puts the red light on top of the thing. And the kid just goes, whatever. Lets them past. But as they drive past, suddenly the guy's about to start swinging. And the ground shakes. And they're all like, what the heck? What gives? Well, the sidewalk gives as... Whoa! Ramon blasts through the concrete. Hello! And the kids are like, holy shit! And this little scrote runs into his apartment block. He's got one of them ridiculous mums on the phone, drinking a can of Budweiser or something. Where are you going with that knife? As this kid gets a big butcher knife and runs out. What's he going to do with that? Bullets don't have any effect on this fucking thing, Runs out with this knife into the crowd who are all there. A cop in his cruiser comes spinning around a corner, sees all the hullabaloo taking place, hits another car, overturns, and then he can't get out of it. He's trapped in his vehicle. And this was the scene that Barry Norman showed on film 80. And you see the alligator. It's coming towards him. And it looks great as well. I'll talk about the effects in a bit. This is just the plot. It's coming towards him like that. And in a rather bizarre moment, that the cop just very matter-of-factly says, right, I've got to climb out through the window. It's all right. I'll do this. But he's a bit too slow doing it. And then suddenly it's got him. Right? It's like, ah. Then he begins to act. Ah! He's dragging onto the car door. Like, ah! It's got him by the leg. And it shears a leg off. And it kills him. So now the alligator is... No one can doubt it anymore. It's out on the streets. It's killed a copper. So everyone's vindicated in what they've said. But obviously the mayor still doesn't want Dave Madison involved because he knows, he suspects that the corporation with Slade is behind it all. And the alligator manages to get away. You've got helicopters overhead. And this is another sequence which clearly shows it's LA. A big overhead sort of like view down. You've got tons of these lovely houses and swimming pools up the wazoo and back. And the alligator, first of all, it gets into a big sort of a lake, gets into one of them. If I remember rightly, let's get this right. Now they call in, the big safari hunter, Colonel Brock, played by Henry Silver, the great Henry Silver. Wonderful. He was Kang in Battlestar Galactica, the TV movie, not the rest of the show. He was Kane, not Kang. Kang was Michael Ansara as a Klingon in. Not too many K's involved in this. From Kilt-Man, this is. If Kilt-Man thinks there's too many K's going on, then it really must be. Michael Ansara played Kang, the Klingon commander in Star Trek. Henry Silver played Killer Kane in Battlestar Galactica. Fucking hell. That took some doing. I need some of this now. I can work that one out. But he's a colonel. We don't know what military service he was with, exactly what he did, but we brought him in because he's hunted everything on the planet. He's the guy. And he's got a Remington pump action 7600 with a telescopic sight on it. Always think that's amusing, but that's what he's got. And he wears proper khaki safari gear as well. But he looks like a cross between Jack Palance and Reggie Nolder. Reggie Nolder, who played Barlow in Salem's Lot, the big Nosferatu vampire. Reggie, I've discussed him many times, who had those mysterious facial scars. He didn't always have them. He was a good-looking fella, making movies at one point, and then something happened, and his face got horribly scarred, and his cheeks got literally caved in. But Henry Silva has a look of these two guys, but he's great, and he's having fun doing this as well. Cheers, y'all. I mean, you've got all people selling alligator paraphernalia on the banks of this. They reckon it's in this lagoon, this great big, it's in the middle of a park, this great big pool, pond, whatever you want to call it. So they're all there, TV crews are there, like it's got to be in there. And you've got SWAT teams circling around in speedboats, dropping hand grenades into the water. And people are getting interviewed by the TV crews and all that, like the journos. And they interview Henry Silva's Colonel Brock. And he's like, and she's the woman, the anchor woman's going like, so, you know, are these intelligent? Oh yes, they're very intelligent, yes, yeah. They can talk and communicate with each other, and they're very romantic as well. Because he's putting the, he's met the serpent lady, lizard lady, Marissa, and he said, you're very pretty, you know. And but he does the same to the TV anchor woman. You're very pretty, you know. All right. Well, are alligators romantic? Oh yes. When they're in the mood, you know, they make a noise like this. And he's leaning into her. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Yes, you can say, oh, this is meant to be the quint. It's not quint. Alligator is so far removed from Jaws as you could possibly get to you know, in a sort of nature fighting back environment. Yes, you've got bureaucracy and you've got red tape and corruption. You've got all that stuff. You've got your dogged hero police guy. You've got a hunter here. You've got a scientist. The more I say that, the more it definitely is Jaws, isn't it? Now, it plays out so differently. It's not like that at all. And but he's like, he's taking this Colonel Brock is taking the piss, good style. And what he will do, he will go and enlist the local homeboys, you know, a local bunch of like, you know, black teens on the street. You know and he's got his fucking shotgun with him, and he's like, you know the area, you know, just take me around because he clearly gets out of the. Let me get this right. Let me get the timeline right. They can't find him in this lake because it does get out, and it walks into someone else's swimming pool, and you've got this this sequence where there's a kids' party. It's late at night, a kids' party, and the older kids lead a younger one out, and they're all dressed as pirates, and they've blindfolded the younger kid, and they're all putting on pirate accents, you know, you're gonna, which I just didn't do there. You're gonna walk the plank, you know, and all this, and the dive board's there, and they make them come out, and I go, you're gonna walk, you're going in and drink, and all that, like the little plastic swords, they're pushing him and all that, and under his blindfold, when the lights go on, he can see. There's the alligator, and he's going, no, and they fucking push him off, and next, it takes him. So John Sayles' script and Lewis Teague just went, no, we're going to go there. Jaws did it with, once again, it's Jaws again, isn't it? Alex Kittner gets taken, but you don't expect it in this movie, and like, no, they're gonna see it and drag him back just in time. Oh no! He goes in and the whole thing turns to just crimson water. So they're all screaming to Mum, I know. So now they know it. Well, it's obviously moved out the lagoon. So you've got Henry Silva with his pump action telescopic sight rigged up hunting rifle, as they call it. It's not a fucking hunting rifle, but. And these guys take him to this big alleyway. This is where they heard the sounds. They're down there somewhere. Right, well, and he's enlisted them as like, you know, his bearers, like to carry all his gear for him. And that's clearly, you know, John Sayles is having a bit of a, you know, a racial slur laugh there. because these are black guys and he's the big white hunter and he enlists them, but they're not pulling any punches there. But he's paying them to do it. But two of them are going like, I'm not going down there. No way, I'm not going down there. It's a great big horrible wide alleyway, but it's like at the end of American Werewolf, the alleyway there, and there's something right down the far end in the shadows. Well, you've got that similar sort of thing taking place here. Only it's much bigger than the American Werewolf in London. And like these two guys, I'm not going down there. But this other one goes, oh fuck it, I'll go down there. Like, but he's already walked off, and he's there, and he's approaching this huge pile of debris, bins, trash cans, rubbish, piled up paper, fast food containers, and he's there. And then as he gets closer, suddenly the comes up, and you hear bang, bang. And this other one, he runs around the corner, and there's our big white hunter, squarely in the jaws of the alligator. His head out one side, his legs out the other, getting chomped, and he's going, help me, drag me out. But this kid picks up the shotgun, tries to fire it, nothing happens, and then runs off with the gun. That's it, you don't see any more of that. That is it. In the meantime, David Barrington's had it off. He's made the beast with two backs with Marissa. She's been to his apartment and they've got a bit of backstory on each other, and it's very natural. It's very believable and credible the way that they converse and the way that they tell each other stories. They got high together as well, both Robert Forster and Robin Riker, and they end up going to a diner, and after they've done the deed and all that, and it's all very lovey-dovey and sort of thing, and they're sitting there. I say diner, it's actually Chinese food they're eating. It's a Chinese diner, and a couple of coppers walk in there. Madison, sorry about what happened to you. I mean, they're sorry now. You got canned, but you were telling the truth. But they all know, we're taking the piss out of you, but there was a big alligator, and now everyone's dying. And he's going, well, don't worry, the big white hunter will catch it. He goes, oh, no, haven't you heard? It's got him. He's like, what? And then, I will be honest, you have, there's two awkward moments in this movie, and one of them appears here, where, I can't remember what the dialogue is, but when he gets the news about the big white hunter, Brock's been killed, he's kind of like, he's deep in thought sort of thing, and Marissa's trying to like make it up to him. Is her name Marissa? It is Marissa. Suddenly I thought differently then, and she goes like, oh look, I know how you feel, and he says something like, look, don't know me too well, and suddenly that causes a huge kind of rift between them. And she goes, all right then. And she gets a cash out and she pays for their meal, storms out. And he lets her, he lets her do it. He's been having nightmares about Jim Kelly getting killed because it reminds him obviously of the death of his previous partner. And also the fact that he just watched someone get chomped by a giant alligator. So, and he's waking up. They're kind of like weirdly filmed. They're kind of reverse footage. And he got this Kelly, and it's shot through with like red and black, almost like a red and black negative, and it's quite effective to be honest, but unusual. So he wakes up jolted from that sort of thing. I think he has that again, and then realises, shit, she got nice tits. He actually says that. He does say that as well, and she has. He's not wrong. And he goes round to her house, and you get another. This is the other bizarre moment, which. It's John Sayles' script, and just Teague going, okay, I'll go with this. Not quite sure where we're going. I don't think that sudden rift between him and Marissa, really worked. But it's a fledgling romance, and you're on edge, and it's a very edgy scenario that you're involved in as well. There's a giant alligator out there, and so suddenly just saying the wrong thing. Or saying it the wrong way can like, oh, I thought we were, well, obviously we're not. So fuck you. That's what he's getting at, I presume. But then you get this sequence in her house. Well, she lives with her mother, and her mother's a weird. I didn't write her name down, the actress, but I've seen her in a lot of things. But And she's good. She's a motor mouth, talkaholic, and she's doing all. He's sitting at the kitchen table. She's in her room or something like that. Marissa, I mean, and the mother's like making small talk to him, but really harassing the hell out of him. And she does this thing. She goes like, I mean, it's a lovely sequence. And you wonder, well, why does she hate her mother so much? Well, you might find out in a second. Unpredictability. And she goes, you know what, to Dave? I've got the evil eye. Is it this one? Or is it this one? And like, he laughs and it's funny. And then she goes, I like you. Do you want some coffee? He goes, I've already got some. And she goes, oh, you really make yourself at home, don't you? Well, didn't you fucking give him the coffee anyway? In effect, you didn't just go in there and make the coffee himself. You would have seen that. You just offered him coffee. But he's clearly got coffee. And like, now all of a sudden, he's a bastard. And like, well, you really make yourself at home, don't you? And then luckily the daughter comes in and she goes like, let's go up to my room. You can look at my rocks. Scientists, they have rocks. And as he walks out, he goes, I better go because she's got the... back to her. So it's a bizarre moment. Like, why did she turn on him? But the way that the characters play it out, it works better because he goes, yeah, I've got to go because Robert Forster plays Dave Madison as such a lovely, down-to-earth guy, very, very believable. No mad histrionics. You know, he's not Martin Riggs. You know, he's not having hissy fits all the time, not trying to commit suicide. You've got none of that sort of stuff going on. He just is a troubled guy, but tries to do his job. When he gets canned, and he said, because he disturbs Marissa when she's giving a class, and he's knocking on the glass, and she's going like, yeah, waving to him. He says, no, come here. So she has to leave her class. And he said, look, I got canned. And she goes, what? Why? And she goes, look, aren't you bothered? He said, well, I've always been expecting to be canned for this reason or that reason. Now it's finally happened. I don't really care. But he's got his bomb, he's got his dynamite, and he's got the count, the timer. So he's basically saying to her, now it's down to you and me to stop this. Again, going beyond your remit, you're no longer a homicide detective. You're not playing a part in it, but you're taking it personally. I know it's cliched and it's just pure tropeisms, but it works in this case. So anyway, they're back together again now. He said, look, I've got this plan. Look, there's pockets of methane down there. I can rig up this bomb. If we can lure the thing back, because she says like it's out on the streets at the moment, but it's gonna go back. At some point it's gonna go back to its lair. He said, I know where it is, so we can take it in there and I can do this thing. It's a bit of a harebrained scheme. But then you get like this wonderful chase on the river. You've got a river there as well. And you've got SWAT team guys again in those silly sort of brown uniforms on speedboats. And they've got a fucking M60. It's not an M60, it's a 50 caliber. And they've got it mounted on one of these speedboats. There it is, you know. And the hump of the alligator is in the middle of the river, and they're like, and they've all got like M16s, and they're strafing the water, and like it's gone under, and like they spin around and go back again, and one of them fucking hits, you know, this big hide of the alligator, fucking flies up in the air, and they all fall off the back of it, like, but the poor pilot of it, like, it hits the bank and kaboomy. So you've got a big chase and explosions again. Like, you've already had a car exploding and people getting eaten and chomped all over the show. And then you've got these guys that are trying to swim back to the boat. One of them gets taken down. Another guy, again, kind of similar a little bit to Jaws 2, where Eddie gets to the boat but gets chomped, but he gets dragged under. This guy, he's like, pull me out. And they drag him out and his legs have been taken off. Little stumps, dribbling blood everywhere. Which is also very similar to a scene in Piranha, which John Sayles wrote, of course. And where the poor old guys on the fishing jetty, and the piranhas nibble his legs down from the knees down. He's got no flesh on his bones. Oh God, it's great. It's fucking great. But our heroes then realise, look, they arrive at the scene as well. Like, got to remember, he's got no jurisdiction anymore. He's not been reinstated, but he's still there. And since he got took off the force and gives badging, he's still got his sidearm. He's still got his revolver in a shoulder holster, which he's wearing on plain view, just over a sweatshirt, no jacket on. So then he's going around town like that. But it's like, well, where's this river end up? Where's it go? Well, where does it go? It goes to the big wedding do. The wedding do of the Slade, the big bastard in charge of the Slade Corporation. His daughter's getting married to Arthur, the guy who's the vivisectionist, the evil experimenting bastard. She's getting married to him, and they have to gate crash this. But before they gate crash it, somebody else has. It's all a big lawn party. There's all tables and cakes, and everyone's in their finery. The mayor is there, Slade's there, Dean Jagger. I should say, Dean Jagger. Hammer made the Quatermass movies way back. The Quatermass Experiment, then Quatermass 2, with Brian Donlevy, alcoholic Brian Donlevy, playing Professor Bernard Quatermass. Then they wanted to make another one, but I've covered the film X the Unknown, for that is the movie in question. I've covered it quite a bit on the channel. But Brian Donlevy was not available for this, so they brought in another American actor because Brian Donlevy was American, although Quatermass himself, under Nigel Neal's original writing, wasn't American. But they brought in Dean Jagger to play him, but he's not playing Quatermass, he's playing a different scientist, and it's not a Quatermass story, although it basically is. And it's very similar, in fact, to Alligator. You've got something coming up from the ground, something coming up from underneath to rampage across the top side. A big mystery and lots of red herrings, and then a huge confrontation. Only in X the Unknown, it's a great big gelatinous mass from the primordial state of the earth being built and all that, like forming, which dissolves people and gains more mass as it does so. But Dean Jagger played the scientist hero of that movie with the same belligerent, aggressive attitude that Brian Donlevy had. Now, Dean Jagger was in many, many movies and thousands of TV shows, lots of westerns, war movies. He did everything. One of those guys that did everything. And he's playing Slade. Now, he's almost unrecognisable. I think Alligator may well have been his last movie. He's very, very old in this movie. But he's still great. And he's doing the barbecue and all that. Like, he's taking the mayor's latching onto his every word. And he's just like, he's trying to impress these two. The old guy trying to impress these two floozies, and the mayor's like hanging on his every word. He's like, fuck off, basically. And then someone screams as Ramon comes ambling in, boom, boom, boom. And in a great moment, he's hurtling people everywhere. He's doing big swishy with his tail. So people are hurled 30, 40 foot through the air. They're doing somersaults. They're all over the place. But in a great moment, Ramon, the alligator, gets under the table and flips the table and people go flying. But in that shot, he has a great sort of like, hey, I'm having fun here. Because alligators and crocodiles, they have a smile. Like huskies have their mouth just makes a smile. But a gator grin it's par excellence. It's huge and it's toothy and it's like, I get the joke. I'm laughing with you. Don't eat me. But it does this thing. It tosses this table, and the look on its big, massive jawed face is brilliant. And then it causes absolute havoc. People are getting wasted left, right, and centre. Madison and Marissa are trying to get there in time because they know it's heading there. But it gets its revenge on the very people that caused its humongous growth and insatiable appetite. it gets Arthur, the experimenter, gets in, flings his body all drenched in gore, and Slade himself gets into his limousine, and his driver is too transfixed with horror to drive off, and the mayor tries to get in, but he locks the doors so the mayor can't get in. So they sit and watch as the mayor gets chomped in its jaws and smashed against the window, blood going everywhere, and then his body gets cast aside. He's like, drive, you just drive. And the guy's just like, ugh. And then with its tail and its feet and its weight and its jaws, the alligator just crushes the limousine, and they get wasted inside it, blood oozing everywhere. I mean, personally, I'd like to have seen Slade get his head ripped off or something like that. But in a way, it's perhaps even more gruesome because he's feeling every impact and he's getting crushed to death in his own limousine. And then, obviously, that'd be fun here. I'm going back. And yeah, you get like Madison and Marissa arrive there, but they're too late. There's blood and guts everywhere. Everyone's been chewed up. And right, we know where it's going. Right, we've got the bomb, we've got the dynamite, we've got the timer. Right, we've got to get into the sewers. It's going to go back home again, which of course it does. So you get another sequence down in the sewers, and he knows where it is, and it will smack him with its tail. I'm cutting this a bit shorter here now, but the film plays at a breakneck sort of pace, so there's no time waste in this movie at all. It's about 92 minutes, I think it is, but it goes by lightning, you know, and it's just brilliant. And each set piece does top the last one, and so he gets in there and he said, look, I'm going to come out, the methane pocket's there, I've got the mask and all that, I've got everything, I've got the bomb, so I'll lure it out, I'll lure it to that position, and then I'll set the timer and I'll get out, so make sure that manhole cover is uncovered because I'm coming out that way. So she has to get there in time. He has to go in and lure the thing out. He will do. It's there. It will smack him and his mask will come off. He set the timer already as it's coming down towards him. He manages, that was very spidery, that, wasn't it? He sets the timer, then legs it, and he's going up the steps and he's trying to get the manhole covered off. His mask has come off. But so, there's a waste truck there. You know, the bin men are there. And they're pitching all the shit in the back of the truck and all that. But a car's pulled up behind it with some old biddy in it, and she's parked. Her front wheel is right on top of the manhole cover. He was like, it can't lift it. The timer's going down. The methane gases everywhere. The things all around him. Not a good day, is it? And then Marissa turns up and she's like, fucking hell. It's like banging on the drive, move. You're on top. There's someone down there. And the woman's like, what the hell are you doing? What are these? Very simple. Chud has the same sort of final moment. But finally, she gets in, pushes the woman aside, and fucking drives the car away from it. And like, he manages to get the manhole covered off, get up, just as boom ski takes place. And you see the alligator, the big alligator, just get fucking blown apart. Do you know who worked on that sequence? The great actor Bryan Cranston. In his early days, Bryan Cranston was actually working on the guts of the alligator, and I think handling the guts and severed arms and other scenes as well. But his main job was to put the guts in and organise the wires pulling all of this. So that's what he did, and what a way to start. So it goes boom, but of course flames go right up through the manhole covers. Cars are getting flipped over everywhere. I mean, if you think about the mass carnage, it's like Die Hard with the elevator shaft and like coming up the flames coming up the elevator shaft, and Die Hard 3, of course, with their manhole covers getting blown everywhere. So a lot of indiscriminate killing could have taken place there, but anyway, they survive, and what's his name, Michael Gasso, as Chief Clark comes up. Well, David, you saved the day there, didn't you? Are you all right? And he's going, yeah, I'm fine, no worries. And like him and Marissa will go up to the manhole cover, and the camera's looking up, and they look down into it like, well, at least that's over. And although, again, it's a trope now, it's been massively overused. The film ends, but you hear the flushing of a toilet, and down the pipe, another little baby alligator comes down and lands with a plop in a puddle in the sewers. Now, having said that, does that actually mean it's going to be able to find all these doctored dog carcasses and then eat them and then grow massive? Well, Ramon did all that, didn't he? So I don't think there's anything to worry about. But it's just saying, like, yeah, this is what happens. They do this. People have been dropping these things down, and it's happening again. The whole cycle will continue. Folks, Alligator is outstanding. Its pace is really brutal, forthright, and full of momentum. You've got great characters. You've got furious set pieces. None of it is too OTT. I know. There's a giant alligator breaking through the concrete, coming up on the streets. But to see it walking down. Now, this is the thing about the effects. The effects, actually, I think are wonderful. You've got this real 36-foot long alligator suit. Not the one they originally made. The one they originally made sat, because Lewis Teague had this idea in production for quite some time before the finished script was done by John Sayles, and it went into production. Only like a 25-day shoot. That's fucking ridiculously quick, you think about it. And a micro budget as well. But it looks $1 million on screen. And when he looked at the original alligator prop, he went, that's ridiculous. It's built on like a sort of a plywood frame, and everything had given way. The rubber hide had gone too rigid. We're not using this. Rebuild it from scratch. So the two guys that built it are Ben Stansbury and Richard Helmer, and they built it out of reinforced rubber, and it's on a metal frame, and it looks amazing. Now, of course, there's different versions of it as well. You've got the full length one. You've got the tail as another extra piece which can swish and give it loads. You've got the jaws and the head, and a bit of the back as well, for when it's floating in the air, the lagoons and rivers and what have you, and swimming pools. And what else have you got? What other bits have you got? Oh, the one that miniature ones that explode and all that. But they also used real alligators, again, baby ones or sort of adolescent alligators, and played them against miniature setups. Now, you will spot that, but it doesn't detract from the movie or the experience at all. It looks great, and to see it going down, even though it's maybe a model street, to see one of these great big things lumbering down there, what a terrifying sight that would be. Jesus Christ. I mean, these things, we're going about great whites all the time, jaws and all that, but these things, fucking hell, the death roll that they do. My daughter showed me footage of an old granny in Florida, a rest home, who was walking a dog by the banks, which they had forgotten to erect a fence around. And this gator comes out, it's going for the dog, but the dog manages to get away, but it gets the granny instead, and she don't last long. Ugh, ain't good. There you go. Bit of emphasis there. The dialogue is witty, it's clever, it's poking an accusation at corporations and big business and big pharma, the ecology being abused, pollution, which had been done before, the likes of Prophecy, Humanoids from the Deep, got so many movies, even Piranha, abuse of wildlife, weaponizing certain things. Big business, big corporations, cynical twats abusing the natural world, and the natural world will fight back. Now, in this film, of course, it turns full circle. It does manage to kill the people that have made it what it is, which I think is brilliant. The music. Now, Craig Huxley did the music. Now, if you watch the movie, He's credited as being Craig Hundley, I think it is. Now, Craig Huxley, I have discussed a lot on the channel. He's the guy, musician, composer, and an experimenter with musical instruments and creating electronic and weird sound designs. And he created a thing called the blaster beam. I know you guys have heard this a million times. And you've heard it throughout this entire review because I've been playing blaster beam themes throughout the whole thing. All from him, of course. And it's a great big aluminium column. Not a tube, it's like a rectangular piece of a column of aluminium with strings around it. And you just hit it with all manner of mallets and hammers and knives and people's skulls, bottles, and it creates reverberations and a big noise. And we're not talking Hans Zimmer's boom. This is unique, and he did it in many movies. Now, Craig Huxley did the score for this movie. He wasn't the original composer. Guess who was? It was James Horner. James Horner, who scored Battle Beyond the Stars, which John Sayles had written the script for. James Horner, who did scores for Humanoids from the Deep, which, again, hang on, I just mentioned that. Oh, because of corruption and ecological stuff taking place, nature fighting back, because it's been, environmentally destroyed. But he'd done the score for this movie, but a strike took place. Before he could finish it and before he could submit what he'd done, the rules of the strike, he couldn't even submit it to Lewis Teague. Lewis Teague wasn't willing to wait. And then James Horner was commissioned for other stuff. So he can never submit that score for this movie. So they brought in Craig Huxley, and he'd done like Star Trek and The Black Hole, and not the actual scores, but supplied the blaster beam sound effect, which like Jerry Goldsmith or John Barry would bring into their movies. But his blaster beam was used extensively in so many films, but it's used a lot in this, in Alligator, because it just gives that as this thing's striding down the sewers, whether it's its shadow or the snapping jaws, or you're seeing it in the city streets, or climbing out of the river, or whatever it's doing. It just adds that really sort of like whoa impact, heavyweight special musical effect. Now, I've been playing all sorts of music related to this. It's either been sewers, like them, oh god, The Relic. You're hearing The Relic now. John Debney's electrifying score for that. But you've heard Star Trek. There's been Alien and Aliens as well, because, well, both those movies have people going through ductworks and labyrinthine sort of corridors with torches. It's very similar to sewers, that sort of thing. But what I will play for you is, because I've got the end credits for Alligator, which are very gentle yet slightly eerie. You can't get the full score for it, and there isn't a great deal of score to it. You've got the sound effects and the sound design of the nice and eerie though, isn't it? And the film did do well when it came out, and of course it went on to gain a huge cult following. It gained a sequel, a decade later? Blaster Beam. Now that's the Blaster Beam from Alligator. Should I review the sequel? Did I ask this before? I think I did. Maybe we will. I haven't seen that for a long time, and I weren't impressed with the film. Sorry. But Alligator certainly fits into the nature fighting back thing, with the likes of The Swarm and Prophecy with the big mutant bear. say humans from the deep, frogs, Night of the Lepus with the giant rabbits. It's worth watching. Nightwing, all this sort of stuff. Grizzly, William Girdler's Grizzly. Oh my God, fantastic. Jaws, obviously Jaws 2, Piranha, Orca, Killer Whale. There's so many of these movies where an animal, a fish, a reptile, an amphibian, a whatever from the natural world fights back. Usually it's got something on its side. It's been mutated. It's bigger than the average one would be, and it's nastier. And people are stupider than they should be around this thing. So, but Alligator certainly ranks as one of the best out there. It moves along at a rollicking pace. You've got people that you genuinely believe in and cared about. And it's funny in the right places. It's horrific and nasty when it needs to be. It's got super eerie. What's the matter? 1 second, folks. Oh. The dog's about to go out, and a harness was sitting over there. Here you go. There you go. Oh, there's a husky. Its tail. Its tail's flashing around. Roxy, you're going that way, hon. But, you know, great characters, great script, good effects for its time. I mean, using miniatures and matte optical effects as well certainly brings this thing to, you know, full-size life. Again, King Kong as well. Think about King Kong. It's a similar sort of thing. Sorry, I'm distracted by that. By a life-size husky on the rampage through the Kilt-Mansion kitchen. I don't know, these beasts. Every dog will have its day. Every gator will have its gay. No. That was wrong, wasn't it? Oh dear. I recommend Alligator immensely. It is one of my favourite creature features. It harks back to the likes of the 50s. Not so much the Cold War paranoia of the 50s, like the likes of them and Tarantula, which had other ideas as well going on with them. But as outsized monster movies go, which have a political sort of sideways slant to them, it works a treat. Chud is wonderful. I've reviewed Chud as well, but Chud doesn't go quite as far as you want to see more of the actual Chuds themselves. And it does kind of, it can't go too far. They couldn't afford it. Many reasons why it didn't happen, but it's still great, and it's still splendidly eerie down in the sewers and the underground, you know. So Alligator, it's at the top of the sewer slaughter fests. Yeah, and nature fighting back, it's up there. Folks, cheers y'all. So, this is them now. But let's find a bit more of the blaster beam. Let's go for... This is the Meteor. Not a good film. But we should get some nice bombs taking place. And this box set, by the way, is outstanding. It comes with that artwork there, which is great. The severed arm, a gator's tail, and people down there with flashlights, not really coming down a tunnel, not realising what's in that horrible, icky murk down below. We have a severed hand there as well. No expense spared for my props. And the gun! And I asked Mrs. Kilt-Man, I said, have we got any alligators or crocodile toys or figures or whatever? She said, well, you'll know if we have or we haven't. And I said, well, we got the lizard from Spider-Man, but it's not quite the same thing. She went, I know what there is. The dog's got a chewy toy of an alligator or a crocodile. Here it is. Now we're lucky that the dog, when she came through there, didn't realise that this was sitting up here. Otherwise she may have leapt up to go and retrieve it. And because I'm in the mood for creepy music, Bernard Herrmann's score for It's Alive. Meeting babies in the sewers. It's got all horrible fangs and nails. You don't want to give birth to one of these things. Now, it's not blaster beam in this. Although there's some elements which do sound very similar. But 101, I've done an extraordinarily great job with this transfer. Nice package. There's a booklet there, so you can read up on it. There's a couple of filmic essays in there. What else did we get? Oh, you see that poster, that newly commissioned artwork, and a lovely hard case packaging for it. A load of extras, interviews. I haven't seen those yet, as it turns out, but a load of interviews. I think Bryan Cranston is actually interviewed on this as well. So there's a lot of stuff to dig your teeth into. Commentary track, and so yeah, if you're a collector, it's all there. It's a one-stop shop. Quentin Tarantino always said that this was one of his favourite movies, and that's why he wanted Robert Forster to play in Jackie Brown. And he now says that the way he wrote the character in Jackie Brown for Robert Forster that's basically the same guy he's playing. It's David Madison, just he's moved cities and changed his career, but it's the same guy because this guy meant so much. And Forster, he's played everything. An Arab terrorist in the Delta Force gets the shit kicked out of him by Chuck Norris. He's an obnoxious fucking military chief in Olympus Has Fallen. He's in Vigilante, and he's great in that. He's great in everything. He's always been great. Wonderful actor. But an actor full of personality and very sort of realistic, down-to-earth portrayals. And I liked his sort of camaraderie with Michael Gatso, as Chief Clark. But again, it's sounded kind of strange because what boss, especially you always see in these movies and TV shows, the captain, the chief is a twat. You can, whatever you do in your day-to-day job, you're going to go into the office and get your ass chewed off by the boss. You signed it up to here with your maverick tactics, And you get that kind of impression. That's how it's going to be with this. But it's not that way at all. Grazzo, as Chief Clark, looks after David. It's David this, David that, Dave. Listen, Dave, I think we'll look after you, don't we? He is like his father. Yeah, that's eerie. Now we're going to do something which has got nothing at all to do with sewers. But I just love the music. Elmer Bernstein's score for Saturn III. With the big Hector, the demigod series robot. Farrah Fawcett, Kirk Douglas. Harvey Keitel. It's just sinister as they're observing what this robot can do. I think I only put this on the playlist because it's got like noises in it as well, which are not blaster beams. Which of course was used quite extensively in the Star Trek movies. Notably Star Trek the Motion Picture and Star Trek 2. but is held heard elsewhere as well. It's just that, like, it's like you're spying on something. I'm like, uh-oh. Like in Alligator, they're looking through binoculars and like, there it is, it's there, I can see it there. I'd be like, I'm not fucking going near that. I'm not going near that. I don't care what weaponry we've got, I'm not doing it. It's chud. Right, folks. That's my take on Alligator. It's glorious. It's full of action. I mean, for God's sake, you've got stuff in the sewers, eerie killings, body parts floating up, mystery. You've got a riverboat chase with a giant alligator. You've got a garden party wedding massacre with a giant fucking alligator. It comes out of the ground and chews a copper up. You've got all sorts in this movie, and you've got tense standoffs with manhole covers. I ask you, what more do you require? A little baby alligator, maybe. I don't like spiders. I don't mind snakes, but a little pet alligator, I think Kilt-Man could do that. Yeah, I reckon. Oh. And then in the morning, I'd wake up to Roxy with that and I'd go, "Yeah, Dad, have that." That's great, Roxy. Now pass me my whiskey. Okay, Dad. Here you go, sir. Folks, happy know it shall be Kilt-Man, please. In the meantime, in this ever happy, snappy, chappy, chomping in between time, please keep it Celtic, keep it Celtic. And I am going to see you all later. I might do Alligator 2. I don't know. I've got to watch it. If it's worth taking the piss out of, I will do. And I just realised something. The dog, my husky, had that in her mouth only just before I started doing this video. And I've just gone and stuck it in my mouth. Oh well. Come the next full moon, I shall be howling in tune with all the other canines and lupines around the kilted realm.